The NBA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Game Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with the promo code NBSGPN, get a $1,000 bonus credit. And welcome, everybody, to the NBA Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Game Podcast Network. It is currently Friday morning, April 18th, roughly 11 a.m. Eastern Time. I'm first episode of Reichel, joined again by Lonte Smith. Together, we're going to break down the two Friday play-in games, the final play-in games, thank God. The actual bracket starts tomorrow, so once again, should be a pretty fun next couple of weeks, if not a month or so, of NBA playoff action. Lonte, how's it going with you? You savoring the final play-in games, or are you just thankful it's over? It's almost over?
Probably a combination of both. To be honest, I've been doing quite well betting betting those games. So bittersweet, but again, I mean, just glad to have meaningful basketball where we don't have to cipher through who's playing, who's not. Are they going to sit guys in the second halves and stuff like that? So a bit of combination of both, but I'm excited for the playoffs this weekend for sure.
Yeah, I feel like we're going to agree to disagree here because I had a lot of fun fading the bad teams over the last couple of weeks of the regular season, especially in the last week or so when you knew which teams were tanking, they admitted they were tanking. So you made some money over the last week just fading all of the teams that did not care. But for the play-in games, so far, I know the 10 seeds have won, so I guess that's the upset involved. But to be honest, a serious dud. We've had one good game out of four. The Warriors game was very close. That was definitely the game of the event so far. The other three games weren't even close. I believe the other three games have been separated by, 19 plus points? Two teams? I know
I think so.
The Heat won by 19. The Magic won by like 20. Yep. And then you saw the Mavericks. I actually think the Kings game was technically 14, but they were down like 20 with a minute to go. But the point is 3 of the 4 games, not very good. So hopefully we end up getting 2 competitive games here on Friday. Do want to ask you, though, Lonte, just for the sake of the play-in as a whole, any takeaways, grand scheme of things for these teams that we've seen?
Not really. I think they went pretty much as I expected. I mean, I thought that Atlanta would be a little bit more competitive, but outside of that, not really a ton. I mean, especially with, it being mostly blowouts. Interesting that both games that involved the 10 seed had the exact same score at the half. I think 71-47, which was kind of interesting. So outside of that,
the 9 seed allowing 71 points at home in the first half is probably not a good look for those two teams.
Definitely.
Then again, people are making the argument that the Kings and the Bulls are the same team because they, of course, inherited Levine and DeRozan. So I guess maybe that's the connection that both those teams have. Damn, there are a lot of bad teams in the league. A reminder, these teams were a game or two away from making the playoffs. And we're making jokes about the Bulls rebuild and the Kings being a laughingstock and the Mavericks doing their own thing with Nico Harrison, and they all almost made the playoffs. So once again, there are a lot of pretty underwhelming teams in the league, and we saw a couple of those teams join the rest of the half of that league in Cancun. But we'll see which 2 teams will join them tonight and which 2 teams will advance to the actual bracket for the NBA playoffs moving forward. Anyway, before we get into any of the 2 games for the actual card here on Friday, quick reminder that we have a contest with the NBA Gambling Podcast for the playoffs. We do have a fun ATS contest. So once again, it's free to enter. Pick every NBA playoff game ATS, $1,000 first place winner take all prize. Enter today at sportsgamepodcast.com/NBA playoffs to enter the free contest. Anyway, starting off with the first game on the card. You have some division rivals. They faced off against each other what feels like about 45 times so far this season. But one more time can't hurt. You have the Heat taking on the Hawks. Now, for the actual spread in this game, you can find a bunch of different numbers at a bunch of different places. Some books have the Hawks being favored. Some books have the Heat being favored. I am going to use the pricing of Heat -1 for this game. For the over-under, I see 219.5. Now, we saw Miami lose the first couple games to Atlanta this season. Then they flipped the script, and in the last 2 meetings, the recent ones, ended up winning each of those 2 meetings by at least 10 points. They also scored at least 122 in each of those 2 meetings. Atlanta no-showed the Magic game. Then you saw Trey get ejected. Miami looked great, shut down Chicago, only gave up 90 points, and they coasted to a nice double-digit win. Do want to ask you, before we get into the actual picks for this game, do you agree with Miami being favored? I know it kind of varies on the book, but do you agree that Miami should be laying points in some spots for this game?
I think it's probably a dead pick 'em, to be honest. I think both teams are coming in with some familiarity, obviously, with being in the same division. So I can kind of see home court I mean, I guess Atlanta has a decent home court, so I mean, maybe 2.5. I wouldn't quite give it 3, but 2.5.
I don't even know what it's worth in a default NBA setting anymore, to be honest.
Yeah, and that's a good point. But Atlanta generally plays a lot better at home. Short travel, obviously. It's probably a quick flight, quick 45-hour flight to Atlanta. I think it's about right. I think the number is about right. It's kind of just who you favor in a certain spot. I mean, I know a lot of people got bad taste in their mouth from Atlanta and that blowout, but they did show signs in that third quarter whenever things are going right. They just kind of dug themselves in a bigger hole, and they did a good job on. I mean, to be honest, I thought the game plan, it worked. I mean, they limited Paolo and Franz, and other guys beat them.
And Cole Anthony and Wendell Carter Jr. kind of had their own game plan.
Yeah. So yeah. No, other than that, I mean, I think the number's probably about right.
I just wanted to ask because I feel like most people, including myself, you could argue that it's recency bias and how bad Atlanta looked and how good Miami looked.
Yeah.
But you don't typically see a home court advantage team in this environment be dogs in an elimination game.
Yeah.
That is pretty rare. I mean, you might end up seeing that hypothetically if the Warriors and Rockets series, for example, went 7. Golden State might be favored in that environment, but usually the home team is blindly the favorite in an elimination game.
Right.
And you go from there. So unless there's an injury involved. So I do want to point out, you mentioned Atlanta at home. They are 2 games over at home this season, and they're 2 under as a whole. So they were 4 games better at home than on the road. As for Miami, not great on the road. They are 18 and 24 because they were able to, 18 and 23 because they were able to win the first play-in game in Chicago. But Miami's been on a bit of a hot streak on the road recently. They've won 5 of their last 6 road games by at least 19 points. Every game that they've won in that stretch has been by 19-plus points. So Miami seems to have found something, and we'll see how they look. For the injury report for this game, you have Trae Young being probable. He's going to play. He might get ejected, but he'll end up playing. He's an Achilles issue. Besides that, Capella and Nance are still out. For Miami, everyone's healthy. In fact, Jovic, Larson, and even Kevin Love are questionable for this game. Love might take a break from Instagram from posting memes. He might actually play in this game. Will he? Probably not. But I'll ask you, since you said it's basically a pick whatever you want for this type of matchup, where are you going? I know you had a beef with Terrell, and you were right about the Heat in that first game against Chicago. Are you going back to Miami? Are you back in Heat culture, or are you going to back at Atlanta to bounce back at home?
Yeah, so I'm going to take Miami, the road favorite here. I think so. A couple of things. I think Miami's the more well-rounded team. They generally do a good job on Trae Young. If you dating back to like in the division and just like playoff series in general,
and the turnovers are usually a mess for Trae in this matchup.
Right. And I mean, Miami does a good job of defending without fouling. A lot of Trae's, the foul merchant type of thing. They're second in free throw rate. Yeah, they're second in free throw rate allowed. They're middle of the pack shooting the ball, but I mean, a lot of the Miami metrics are kind of like skewed because you had the time where they were playing with Jimmy and technically not playing with him. So you got guys in and out of the lineup, and then they kind of switch things up. They got Wiggins implemented back in, Burks, Davion Mitchell, who's been pretty good for them as well. But overall, I mean, I think they can do a good job of limiting Atlanta in transition. They're solid at not giving up corner threes, which is a strength of Atlanta. Atlanta is 5th in corner 3 percentage. They take the 8th most, so that's where they get a ton of their shots.
Who is that? Is that like Niang mostly?
I would assume it would be Niang, Karis LeVert off that high pick and roll from Trae Young. He's just
I don't know if LeVert's a corner guy because he's more of just like I'm going to dribble this ball for 5 seconds and then chuck the ball. So I don't know.
That's fair. LeVert, that's fair. Yeah, and I think a lot of that had to do with Bogdanovich and then some Hunter as well mixed in. So
Garrison Matthews for a bit.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of him too. And I mean they're 19th in non-corner 3-point percentage offense. So they rely a lot on that that corner 3. They can't defend the 3 in Miami. We saw Tyler Hero get going. So I think Miami will be able to make some threes. They're solid at really good half court offense. Atlanta, I mean, it's a hard team for me to figure out, man. They really are. They're elite in transition, not so much in half court offense. So I think that Miami can limit the transition. Atlanta's first in transition frequency. The second most percentage of plays in the half court also. So when they run, they don't really score a ton. They just kind of run to kind of get things, and they can't score. And I think Miami could do a good job of defending that. So I like Miami here. I think they have more ways to win the game than Atlanta does. I think Atlanta has to win a shootout. I think Miami, similar to the Chicago team. I think we heard Tyler Hero say it in the post game, like it's going to be a similar matchup to what they had to face with Chicago, like to get up and down and run the floor. And I think Miami did a good job of limiting Chicago, who has significantly, I think, better weapons than Atlanta does. So
when you throw in Kobe White, Giddey, and Vucevic, you have Trae Young. Dyson Daniels isn't the greatest offensive player. Okonkwo, I don't think he's a great offensive player either. He's fine. But I think that I'll use big three in quotes. That big three for Chicago is a lot better than Atlanta's.
Yeah, so I'm going to take Miami here. I think they'll be able to. Bam had a good game. I think him and Ware. He's actually playing his natural position, which is the 4, and allowing Ware to play the 5. So I think
he's got Anthony Davis syndrome. He really loves playing the power forward.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think they'll be able to combat some of that stuff at the rim. So I like Miami here. I think Miami can win pretty convincing, but I do think this will be a good game, though. I think we end up with a pretty good game, maybe like a 4 or 5 point win for Miami.
Yeah, I think my concern for Atlanta is we saw them show some mental toughness as they got back into the game, and they immediately imploded again. My concern is if Miami ends up opening a lead and if their defense is as good as it was against Chicago, does Atlanta roll over? And I think they might. Trae not only rolled over, he got himself ejected from the game. He didn't want to be there. Like, he just abandoned his entire team and had kind of an Antonio Brown moment as he walked off the court. But I think you're looking at the Heat being the better team. I like Miami. I gave out the Hawks to miss the playoffs at plus 330 about a week and a half ago. I can't stand this team. You said you can't really figure them out. I did figure them out. They're not very good. That was my main takeaway for Atlanta. I do want to mention some home defense numbers for Atlanta. They've allowed at least 115 points in 11 of their last 13 home games. They can't stop anybody. And Miami, I mean, you mentioned as your last point, I was going to mention it before you did, that I feel like stylistically, you can argue the first play-in game for both teams is kind of comparable to the play style that both teams are going to run into in the second play-in game, because Miami faced off against Chicago, similar type team, not as extreme in terms of the pace and the transition, but close enough. And we saw Miami shut that team down, gave up 90. For Atlanta, I don't want to say that Orlando is the same type of team as Miami, but two defense-first teams that kind of focus on offense secondary. They want to play slow, control tempo. And Miami passed the test with flying colors. And Orlando basically just destroyed Atlanta on 2 separate occasions in the same game. Atlanta played well for about a quarter. That was basically it. They got smacked on the other 3 quarters. So with that being the case, I'll go with Miami. I think they are the better team. I understand home court actually matters because the home team has won all 4 meetings so far this season. But I like how Miami's played. They're healthier now. Hero was great. I think that Wiggins can help defensively if they want to rotate a lot of guys onto Trae. That's kind of the issue I run into for Atlanta, is that if Trae has an off or inefficient game, which happens a lot, for being honest here with his actual shooting numbers, if he does not shoot that well, does Atlanta get enough contributions from LeVert, from Niang, from Okonkwo, for Dyson Daniels? They have a lot of guys who, I know Niang was pretty good in that first game against Orlando. It didn't matter, but still.
Yeah,
do I like their supporting cast? No. I really don't. They traded away Bogdanovich. They traded away Hunter. They traded away a lot of the guys I actually liked in terms of potential microwave scores on this team. They don't have many plan Bs. And they don't play good enough defense to cover up the holes they have offensively to get into a low-scoring game. As you said, Atlanta needs to win a track meet. If this game finishes in the 210s or like 200s, Miami's probably winning because they made the game ugly, and Atlanta can't get enough stops down the stretch. Yeah, so I like Miami in this game. You said Hero had it going. That's an understatement. Didn't miss a shot for about the first 2.5 quarters. But you're looking at Bam and Ware. I think they can do a good job on the glass. I like them defensively on the interior. I just don't like the matchup for Atlanta. I don't like the team for Atlanta. They might lose this game and have a look in the mirror and maybe trade Trae Young. We'll see what happens. But I don't like the foundation of this team. And, of course, Jalen Johnson being out is a serious problem because he was, in my opinion, arguably the best player on the team. You can argue that he was second best. I would have probably put him 1. I'm also lower on Trae Young than most people. But I like how Miami's functioning right now. Of course, I like Spoelstra in the coaching matchup against Quinn Snyder. But I like Miami as well. The total, though, I think is fascinating because Miami wants to play slow. Atlanta wants to play fast, but Atlanta gave up 119 to Orlando, which is very tough to do.
Yeah.
So my favorite total is Miami team total over, and I'll go from there, but I'm curious what your thoughts are on the total.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. I think Miami's been playing but a lot more pace since they switched over from Jimmy. it's just they didn't play enough games to kind of like flip their metrics. But if you look at what they've done, like they don't run a ton, so they're 26 in transition frequency, but they're top 10 in points per play in transition. So
that's by design too, by the way, because yes, they can be decent in transition, but they've got a lot of old bodies. They're fine with playing in the half court.
Yeah. But I think when they run and they'll be able to get off live rebounds, they'll be able to get some stuff in transition that'll be pretty easy for them to score and get to the rim. So I like Miami's team. I like the full game over. I think Atlanta, they can get out and run a little bit.
They have to. They don't have Miami a choice.
Right, and that's a part of the handicap of this over. Like they can't win in a half court. I mean, their half court numbers aren't like they run the second most percentage of plays in the half court, but their half court offense is right like dead average. I think they're 15th. So they don't do a good job of there. They score in transition, they score off turnovers, and I think that's what you saw in the third quarter of that Orlando game. They kind of got out in transition. They got a few stops.
They went zone too, and Orlando couldn't shoot, but they went zone, and that helped out. They can't do that against Miami.
Right, they can't do that against Miami, especially with Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero and Alec Burks. And even Wiggins played really well, shot the ball well in that game as well. So, I think we see some points here. So I'm going to go over.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I prefer Miami team total over. Want to point out, by the way, in addition to Miami being much better defensively, Miami does rank 9th in defensive rating since the All-Star break. Atlanta does rank 24th. I want to mention the turnovers. Miami does rank 9th in the league in turnovers, so that's pretty solid. As for Atlanta, they are 24th in turnovers. We know they are very careless with the ball, and if we're expecting Miami to have, I'd say, better half-court possessions anyway, the turnovers could be a serious factor. So I do think that Miami does check a lot of boxes for what I look for in a very close spread because they're better in a lot of areas. Now, Atlanta offensively is better according to the metrics, but I do think in a playoff atmosphere, Miami's going to slow the pace down. They'll make the game ugly. Spoelstra will have a nice game plan in store. And we saw Atlanta brick a bunch of three-pointers in the first play-in game. I think they were 4 of 21 in that game. I just don't see many options for Atlanta offensively, besides hoping that one of these other guys, like a LeVert or a Niang, somebody steps up. And even with that being the case, Miami might not have a lot of elite talent. They have a lot of guys. Like Bam can give you 20. Hero can give you 30. He almost had 40, I think, in that game against Chicago. Even Wiggins can give you 20 on occasion. They have a lot of guys. Even the bench, I mean, Robinson can give you 15 or so. You maybe get Larson to give you 10. Ware can give you 10. They have a lot of pieces that can at least give you some depth scoring. And Atlanta really doesn't have that. You're hoping that Okonkwo finds a game where he drops 15. I don't like the matchup for him in this game, but he can, in theory, give you 15. He can maybe give you like 12 if you're hoping for it. He wasn't that great against Orlando. I saw this front court get torched by Wendell Carter Jr. That's not a good sign. No, Carter isn't playing well, but now you have to deal with Bam and Ware. Really not a great showing by Atlanta. Effort-wise and defensively, they were a mess. And they weren't good offensively either. So I'll go with the Heat, and I agree with you about the team total over and the over in general for this game. Do you want to mention some player props, though, for the actual game? Because we only have 2, so might as well. For the player props on this one, my first look was actually Ware rebounds. I found 7.5 at minus 135. I think it's going to be a bit of an ugly game for Atlanta in the half court, and we said before Miami should try to slow the pace down. They don't have to, but they probably should. You're looking at the rebounds, though. He had 9 against Chicago. Against Atlanta, though, he has had 8+ in 3 straight against Atlanta, has had 12+ in 2 of the 3 recent games against Atlanta. I think Ware's in a good spot. If you want to go for a potential 10 rebound play, you get 9.5 rebounds at plus 185. If you want to go for the double-double, the points scare me, though, for Ware. But double-double's plus 340. Plus 340. That's such a massive number for a guy that's going to be on the court for a decent amount of the game. Yeah. I like the Ware double-double as a flyer at plus 340, but I like the rebounds at 7.5.
Yeah, I like both of those plays. And he actually was in foul trouble early and still got to like 9 rebounds.
And they pulled everyone with like 4 minutes to go.
Right. And so I think he could have easily got to 12, 13 rebounds and, maybe even 12, 13 points. But he was kind of less aggressive at attacking the rim, just not wanting to pick up that third foul early. But
Hero also had it going. So it seemed like the team recognized we're getting Hero the ball and pick and roll every single time.
Yeah. And that's a perfect way to put it. So, yeah, I do like that plus 340 on the double-double.
Yeah. Any props that you're tempted by in this game? Any matchups you want to target both pro and con?
I was looking at Wiggins. I think Wiggins can have a decent – I'm guessing they'll just put Dyson on not on Trey. They
Hero,
put Dyson
probably?
on Hero.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't think they have a secondary defender. I guess Wiggins will maybe get LeVert. And I think that's an advantageous matchup for Wiggins. He's rebounding the ball pretty well. Also, I like Wiggins in this scheme. I think he does a lot of things that Spo wants his wings to do. He's long, rangy, athletic. He can run the offense whenever. I mean, I know Bam does a lot of initiating as well, but Wiggins can also initiate the offense along with Bam. So I like Wiggins' PR over.
Yeah, I can get behind that too. I think he's a solid matchup. Do you want to ask you though about one prop that I find extremely high, and I at least want to discuss it? Trae Young assists. I'm wondering what Miami's game plan is going to be. I'm assuming you'd kind of let Trae do his thing scoring because he's inefficient when he scores. So you'd probably dare him to take 20-something shots because we know that he's an elite passer. He led the league in assists this year. But when it comes to his shooting percentages, they're not very good. However, his assist numbers against Miami have been good in the past. But Trae this season, for reference, shot 41.1% from the floor, and he also shot 34% from three. He's not an efficient player, and his assists are at 11.5. Like, I understand you can make the argument that it's dangerous because Trae is going to try to get his teammates involved, and of course the lob game is dangerous too. But you have Ware and Bam protecting the rim. He had 6 assists against Orlando in the first play-in game. I know the head-to-head numbers are going to be intimidating, but I like the under assists here. 11.5, that's massive.
Yeah, I would look there also. I mean, just because of, I don't know who's going to do a lot of well, granted, he, a couple of those lobs and, some fast break stuff, but
he's going to end up with probably like 8, but
yeah, I can see about 7, 8. But 12 is a lot.
Matchup.
Yeah, and I mean, usually Miami does a really good job. They got rangy defenders. They can go small on them with Davion Mitchell. They can go big on them if they want to put Wiggins. If they want to put Burks. The pick and roll. I mean, he can't. Ware can defend in space a little bit, so they won't put him in a ton of pick and rolls. And obviously, they don't want to put Bam in those pick and rolls because he can defend.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, he played decent defense. It's a good shot.
A really tall pigeon. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. So, I mean, I like them to kind of try to force Trae to score and not allow those other guys to get involved, because if those guys are getting involved, then they have to switch their defense up, and then that opens up a little bit more for Trae. So, yeah, I would look at his points. I would look at his points over assists under.
Yeah, you want to point out if we're comparing Atlanta to Chicago based on the actual style of play, Giddey had 4 assists. Miami went into that game and said, Giddey, have fun. We know that you've been better this season, but we're going to dare you to beat us with your shot.
That's a good point.
Trae might end up with 30, 35. That's a possibility here, but if Trae ends up with 35 on, let's say, 45% shooting, and he takes 20-something shots, I think Miami will live with that.
Absolutely.
Because who in the supporting cast are you going to assume steps up for Atlanta in this game? Nobody stepped up besides Niang, basically, in the last game. LeVert was okay, and Okonkwo was okay. But the point is, I think Atlanta might be kind of stuck. If Miami leaves Trae in one-on-one coverage and they stop everyone else, and they basically say, listen, Trae, you could have your inefficient 35, and we'll go from there. I think Miami wins that type of game. If Trae ends up with 35 points and 8 assists, I think Miami will be thrilled with that stat line, right?
I agree, 100%.
So I'll go with the Trae Young under on his 11.5 assists. That's way too high for an elimination game. I just think that line is kind of insane. Freeze mentioning the rebounds there included. If you want to go for Trae, 14.5 PRA. RA for that game. I don't mind it.
Yeah, me either.
His rebounds have been pretty bad. In fact, the rebounds in general are 2.5. He's had less than 3 in 3 of the last 4. I don't hate that. So I do think if you want to give yourself some extra cushion, I can definitely get behind that as well. So that's definitely worth talking about. I see Logan mentioned they should be playing Krejci a bit more. They need some floor space. As simple as that. I do think at the end of the day, we know Daniels is a very good defensive player. He's not a great outside shooter. Okonkwo's been working on it. I don't think he trusts his outside shot either. Niang's a bench guy because he can't really defend anyone. They don't have many great floor spacers.
Yeah, they don't got a lot of guys, man.
No, that's kind of why I like Miami, because we didn't even mention other guys like Highsmith. If you want to throw in Kyle Anderson, who's like the 10th man, they have a lot of guys that Atlanta would kill for to have as depth options in this lineup. So I think Miami's deeper, but I think that Trae might be forced into scoring. So maybe Trae points is worth a look. If you want to go for we're forcing Trae to beat us with his shot, 25.5, he had 28 against Orlando before getting ejected. 30 in this game for Trae is at 2-1. I don't mind that. He had 29
really.
the last game against Miami, but I think that stylistically trying to predict Spoelstra's game plan, probably daring the other guys to beat them,
Right.
while also not letting Trey play make, which is definitely his best attribute. Is that fair?
Right. Yeah, that's definitely fair.
So that's kind of my thoughts on that one. I'll go with Trey under on his assists. Looking at the comment section, by the way, I see Logan taking Hero under points because of Daniels. Can't tell if that is a good find or not. It's really tough for matchup because you tend to switch every pick and roll now in today's NBA. So you're expecting a bunch of pick and roll with Bam, with Ware, etc. I wouldn't go against Hero after dropping 38 last game, but I understand what your point is. Daniels, though, by the way, shout out to Daniels. 1+ steal last game was minus 3,000, and he had 0. So shout out to all those people who took the over for some reason and ended up losing. You'd have to be a madman to take a steal prop minus 3,000. You have to be a madman to do that. But anyway, wanted to mention that in passing. Anything else you want to add? I know Daniels had a pretty solid game in terms of rebounding and assisting. I might be tempted by Daniels' rebounds because somebody has to in this game. So maybe that's an option. But I didn't see much else.
Yeah, I didn't see much else either. I think if he's not careful, he can get an early foul trouble because Tyler Hero is good at manipulating those screens and a couple
kicking his leg out on occasion and drawing.
Yeah, and Dyson is that's to his credit. I mean, that's how he plays. He's an aggressive defender. A couple of reach-in fouls. It just depends upon how they call in that game. So, yeah, I might look at him under actually.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's a great scorer anyway, but I think he can contribute in other ways. He seems to always be, at least when he does not have the ball in his hands, a right place, right time guy. And that sounds like luck. It's really not. I think that he's got a high basketball IQ. The problem is I don't think anybody else in his team has a high basketball IQ, so he's kind of stuck out there by himself. But I do want to ask JR, who I know is the Chat Hawks fan right now, who's in the live stream chat. If this is the last game for Atlanta, I'm curious what team you're rooting for in hockey. Because I know you're a big hockey guy. So I'm actually curious. Are you rooting for Winnipeg? Are you required to because of how the Thrashers thing ended? I'm curious who you're going to end up rooting for in the hockey playoffs. I see Logan asking about Guy. I don't mind Guy. The problem I don't know how good he actually is at basketball. He's raw.
Yeah,
he's going to get minutes and he can finish, but when you're against Bam and Ware and you have no outside game, basically, I just question your efficiency if you're expecting Miami to protect the paint quite well in this matchup. Is it a bad matchup for Guy and Okonkwo? Because I don't really like their offensive games, and in this matchup, I don't think it's that great.
Yeah, matchup-wise, I don't think so, but I think he has to play because they just don't have a lot of guys.
They have a Twin Towers lineup. They have to. Capella's injured. Nance is injured. They have no choice.
Yeah, they don't have a ton of guys, man. Yeah, Mo played. I thought he played decent defensively. Yeah, he's got a good motor. He's running the floor really well. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he was in whenever they were making that run in the third quarter. I think they switched out for some foul trouble, and he was in for Okonkwo at the time, and that kind of freed up a little bit of space. So I think I would look at Mo. I would look at some Mo props.
Yeah, I think that's worth a look potentially for his points. I do think, once again, the matchup's not great, but somebody's going to have to do something on this team. Yeah. So there you go. Anything else you want to add for this matchup, or should we move on?
No, I think we hit it all. Hit it all.
So before we get into the Grizzlies and Mavericks game, quick reminder that we also are brought to you by EdgeBoost. You can find one of the best, I'd say, bank accounts available because it's the first ever bank account built for bettors. If you ever tried to deposit money into your account at 2 a.m. and your bank denies that actual request, that'll not happen with EdgeBoost because they give you fast, reliable access to your funds, making it easier to move money where and when you need it. You can also get it without the delays that come with traditional banks. You can also get cashback rewards. Every time you deposit into a qualified gambling account, you get 0.5% cash rewards. Also, no usage fees and no minimum balance. They also have a ton of responsible gambling tools to help you manage your bankroll and to help you make informed decisions. What are you waiting for? Go to EdgeBoost.bet, go to SGPN, EdgeBoost.bet, code SGPN. Sign up for the EdgeBoost card today. We're also brought to you by MyBookie.ag because they're the place in every sport. They have the NBA playoffs. They have the NHL playoffs. They have baseball, if you want to go for that. UFC as well. A lot of different options for you. They also have props in every game. They also get cover for a ton of locations. You can also use crypto for OnlyFans payouts and easy deposits. That's MyBookie.ag. Promo code SGPN. So you get a 100% deposit match up to $1,000. Once again, terms and conditions apply. MyBookie.ag. Promo code SGPN for 100% deposit match up to $1,000. Welcome back, everyone, to the NBA Gambling Podcast. Finished going through the first play-in game on Friday, the Heat and Hawks game. Time to move on into a pretty weird game between the Mavericks and the Grizzlies. Now, the Grizzlies are laying 6.5. The over-under is at 221.5 for the injury report. Dallas is basically healthy. Davis is on the injury list because, of course, he is, but he's probably going to play. So is Williams. Now, for the Grizzlies, Ja, of course, is the main elephant in the room. He rolled his ankle in the second half of that Grizzlies game against the Warriors, missed some time, came back, pure decoy, could not move. He let Bane control the show, and he stood in the corner. So, assuming Ja's going to play, I don't know how well. He might be on an insane amount of Percocets to deal with the pain for this game. But I want to ask you, first things first, how valuable do you think Ja is to the point spread, either if he doesn't play or if he's very compromised?
Well, I would say 3.5, 4 points. I think simply because they're without Jalen Wells, who defender, and then Ja, the most dynamic player, and he's been shooting the ball extremely well as of late. So I think that's what you're going to have to do against Dallas. I mean, they have so much size, and Memphis does not have a ton of size. They don't have a ton of shot makers. Bane has been the constant shot maker, so I'm thinking we're going to see a lot of Luke Kennard. We're going to see a lot of Aldama at the forward spot. I think he actually should start in this spot just because of what they do with their lineup. I mean, if you look at, they don't have a traditional point guard, Dallas that is, so they're playing like 6'6" and up, like 6'7" and up. They don't have a ton of like smaller guys. And Memphis, not the biggest team.
They have one guy, they have Edey. Because Jaren Jackson's tall, but he doesn't use any of his height. So
right. Yeah, he doesn't rebound a ton. I mean, I don't think he'll be he posts up a ton, but I don't know if you'll be able to post up against that trio of bigs.
To be fair, he posts up and does some baby hook shot every time. It doesn't actually post up, for being honest.
Yeah. So I think they're going to force. I think that the game plan is going to be Dallas is going to force them to shoot over that length and size. I mean, they're fourth in rim percentage defense. So, Ja's been attacking the rim. I think they do a good job of attacking the rim, but they don't. Dallas doesn't allow a lot of that. Offensively, that's where Dallas struggles a little bit, and I know. Anthony Davis has generally had the Memphis number. He's played extremely well against them historically. The thing is, I'm not sure how they're going to defend him because you can't put Triple J on him because he'll foul out in the first 2 or 3 minutes. And that's the issue with Memphis. They foul a ton. They're 25th in free throw rate defense. And Dallas is top 5 in getting to the line. So I think that's a big part of the handicap here. Offensively, Dallas is they're mid-range heavy. They don't shoot a ton of threes. They're 25th three-point frequency. Their transition defense is elite, which is what Memphis wants to do. They're 6th in points per play allowed in transition is Dallas. But I like Dallas with the points here, with or without Ja. I mean, I think they're live to win the game. But I do think Memphis at home in a good spot per se, even if as long as Ja is at least 60%, I think they can make enough shots here or there to get the win. I don't really trust a lot of the Dallas guys outside of AD. I mean, Clay.
I don't blame you, but I mean, then again, it's also tough because they went against the Kings and they gave up 3 baskets to everyone. But yeah, I like Brandon Williams. This guy's pretty good.
I do like Brandon Williams. I do like Brandon. And Clay had a good game last. Yeah. He had a good game last in that play-in against the Kings, and I think Memphis is obviously a step above the Kings, but. Ultimately, I mean,
now when it comes to defense, they're kind of the same on defense.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Memphis they haven't had trouble beating these kind of teams. They struggled against the elite teams. I think they haven't beat a team like an elite team, like top 3 seed or top 4 seed.
They have
since January 30th.
Then again, Dallas is also below 500, so you can argue this is par for the course.
Yeah, this is right up their alley. But I do think once they get things going. I think Memphis will kind of pull away. I think this will be another good game as well. But too many points, and I like Dallas. I think Dallas can stay within that game and give Memphis a scare, especially if Memphis is struggling to shoot from outside.
I think I agree with you. I wanted to go into this game picking Memphis, hoping everyone would be overreacting to beating the Kings, who are a laughingstock, the Sacramento Bulls, who aren't very good. I do think the Mavericks found something with the rotation. They told Dinwiddie to get lost. Thank God. I think Brandon Williams actually looked really good. I mean, Chrissy didn't play many minutes. I thought he was good. Exum was great. He didn't miss a shot. But you're looking at AD, who was awful in the first quarter based on efficiency, and he was great in the last 2.5 quarters. Gafford had some blocks as well. The issue for Memphis, assuming Ja does play, the explosiveness is his entire game. If he's playing on one ankle, that's not good. Not to mention the fact that the jump shot is still a serious question mark, and if he's going to the rim, have fun challenging AD and Gafford for about 40 minutes. That's not going to be a fun time for you. I think Dallas is inherently a bad matchup for this team. Triple J has size too. He blocks shots, but he does no rebounding at all. So you have Edey by himself. We saw it against Golden State. Edey was really underwhelming in the first half, but as the game went on, he was arguably their most important player because he single-handedly generated so many second chance points based on rebounding, and he ended up with 14 and 17. When he went to the bench, they got torched against Golden State. And my concern is if he's in foul trouble dealing with Edey or Gafford and maybe some switches as well, what is their backup plan? They don't have one. I feel like Edey and Gafford are a serious problem. Even PJ Washington. Who's going to match up with him? He's also got size. I think he can rebound as well. I think Dallas should dominate the boards in this game, assuming that Edey is actually in foul trouble, which he should be for a decent portion of this game. I like Bane. I think Bane's a guy I'd want on my team. I'll put it this way. If I was drafting an all-NBA frustration team, players that I just can't stand watching, or I just hate the way they play based on their skill set, Jaren Jackson's first team. I can't stand watching him play basketball because I recognize the talent. He can shoot from the outside. He's a good shot blocker. I get it. But he plays like he's 6'3", and it pisses me off because he's got so much length. He uses none of it, and he wants nothing to do with contact. Not to mention the foul trouble. Serious problem with foul trouble every game. So I really have a hard time trusting Jaren Jackson to stay out of foul trouble in this game. And I like AD when healthy. I think Gafford's a solid combo with him. They have PJ Washington as well. The guards are a question mark, but we'll see if Klay does well. We know Memphis is not good against the three-point line, especially with Jalen being out. So maybe you're looking at a good opportunity for Klay to hit some threes. But I think it's a bad matchup for Memphis. I wanted to pick them to win the game, but I think that Dallas actually alive to win this game because Memphis is in free fall. The coach can't draw up an inbound play on the final possession. Not a good sign.
Well, I think he could. I just think Aldama just didn't give him the ball.
I'm not going to blame Aldama there. I feel like the play they ran, they tried to run the far side of the court victory play, the Golden State runs. Yeah, and yet they butchered the screen. You had nobody coming towards the ball. It was a mess. I blame that on the coaching staff personally.
Look at the movements of those players. They weren't in a hurry at all.
Oh, not at all. The point is there was no sense of urgency, no actual, I'd say, quality in terms of the way they ran that. So I'm not going to blame Aldama on that inbound. I blame the coaching staff more. The point is, though, you have an inexperienced coach against Jason Kidd. Kidd might have flaws. Made the finals last year. Been a coach for a long time. With the Nets, of course, back like 10-plus years ago. There's an experience edge for Dallas. If Memphis wins this game, I think it's close. But 6.5 does feel pretty high. I'll go with Dallas. They might win the game. So I'll go with that as my choice for this game. For the total, though, it's pretty interesting because Dallas might want to slow it down with their size, but Memphis has to run. Kind of like Atlanta. They can't defend, so they have to play up tempo. What do you like in this game?
Over. I love the over. I mean, I think Memphis will be able to run. Dallas, while, you said it, they do want to slow it down a little bit. I think they've been more reluctant to run as of late now, especially that AD's healthy. They kind of can't play in the half court because they only have like one shooter. So they'll pack the paint and they'll be able to stop AD. So they want to get out a little bit of space, get in their secondary transition. And, Dallas is elite in transition defense, and that's a strength of Memphis. But I just think Memphis, they can't play in the half court. They don't have enough shooters against that size. They're 6th in rim, or 8th, I'm sorry, in rim percentage offense. And I just mentioned earlier that Dallas doesn't allow a ton at the rim. So that's kind of going to offset. So I think both teams are going to shoot a lot of threes. If you look at what Memphis allows, they are 27th in three-point frequency of non-corner threes. So they limit the corner threes, but everything else they allow. I think Dallas at the top of the key, if they can get some guys to hit some shots, to get PJ Washington, get Klay to knock a few down. Even AD, I think AD will be able to step away from the basket and hit a few shots from 17, 18 feet
against Sacramento.
Yeah. So I think both teams are going to be able to get up and down and score. I think each team's fast break offense is a lot better than their half court offense. So I think we can see both teams. I mean, Dallas and over has been really undervalued as of late. So I like the over.
Yeah, I think I agree about the over. I was contemplating if I wanted to go for any props based on matchup. By the way, Aldama's listed at 7 feet tall. There's no way Aldama's 7 feet tall. There's no chance in hell. He's probably like 6'9". 7 is crazy.
Probably. He's probably 6'8".
Loyola really wanted their guy to get drafted in the first round because 7 is crazy. But the point is, though, he's going to have to play because you're trying to think of who's going to guard PJ Washington. And Aldama, size-wise, does kind of match up well against Washington. I don't mind Aldama props for this game. Someone's going to have to score. Yeah. I think Aldama's fine. I think that he did a good job on the boards in the last game. I know that he had 8 rebounds there. Maybe if you want to go for rebounds, because we know that Jaren Jackson never tries to rebound. So he might be an option there. Aldama, if you want to go for his points and rebounds, that's 16.5. Pretty low.
I like that, yeah.
His points are at 9.5. His rebounds, I think, are also low. His rebounds are at 6.5 plus money. Against Dallas, he has not been... he's been fine. I mean, 5 last game at 8 rebounds the game prior. If you want to go for point rebounds, though, he has split the over-unders in his last 4 meetings against Dallas. 2 meetings this season, 1 over and 1 under. Aldama double-double might be interesting, potentially, if you want to go for some crazy plus money, because I think that he has to play a lot of minutes to deal with Washington. He's 7-1 for double-double. He had 14 and 8 against Golden State. I think that could be a decent option there, too. But I do think Aldama's going to have to play. 9.5 points is too low for the minutes I'm expecting for him in this game. Ja, I'd probably consider the under if he ends up playing, because he might be a pure decoy. I like Pippen Jr.
Love Pippen Jr.
I don't know in what capacity. Maybe PRA, maybe steals if you want to go for the defensive angle.
PA is what I like the most.
Do you like PA? Okay,
yeah,
so
I like PA because I'm assuming what will happen is this is just an assumption. Even with Ja playing, obviously not going to be 100%. So I'm guessing he'll play more off ball and not be the initiator of offense, and he'll be slashing to the basket, and Pippen can dish it off and get a couple of those assists, especially the Bane coming off those coming off those pin downs. So I think Pippen will be able to control a lot more of the game. I mean, he's been playing really well. He shot the ball well.
I like him. He's good.
He's really good on defense. He had a few lapses against Steph, but I mean, who doesn't? But I think Pippen PA is a good overlook.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't really filter based on Ja playing limited minutes. I only have the all or nothing active or not active. Right. But in games that Ja does not play in, he's actually gone over his PRA line in 6 straight. If you want to only do the the PA with once again Ja not being in the lineup, it's the only way I get filter. It's all I got. But assuming Ja's not going to do much, he has gone over the PA in 6 straight as well. So I do think that 16.5 at plus money is actually a pretty good deal. You can alt it. If you want to go up to like 18.5, it's plus 188. So something to keep in mind for that. I see free mentioning Bane. I don't mind Bane. I think he actually shows up in a lot of these games.
Yeah.
I don't mind his 3-pointers in this game. Someone's going to have to shoot from the outside. And it's going to be Bane because they don't have any other shooters.
It's another guy that I like. I'll talk about him in the dog section, but yeah, it's another guy I like.
Bane, I think, is solid. He shows up in these big games.
Yeah, absolutely. Bane is great. I mean, he rebounds the ball well.
Yeah.
He passes the ball well. I mean, his PRA has been really good. I mean, he knocks down some, like, his movement shots are really good.
He kept them in that game when Ja went to the sideline there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bane was great in that second half.
Good defense, too.
Yeah. I see free mentioning AD, though, for the under 15.5 RA. I understand that AD's rebounding was underwhelming in that last game. Then again, they also pulled everyone with a couple minutes to go. He wouldn't have gotten there anyway. The assists I find difficult because Memphis doesn't guard anybody. Neither does Sacramento, but they kind of left AD on an island with Sabonis, which did not work out at all, but I kind of expected that to happen. I don't know what Memphis is going to do. They're probably going to put Triple J on him and stay with everyone else. Maybe. Yeah. What are you supposed to do? You put Jaren on Gafford and hope he helps out?
Yeah, I mean, I would have.
And Edie's going to foul out in 2 minutes.
I would have to put Edie on him and just let Jaren help.
Probably, but the point is whoever they end up using on Edie's in foul trouble in the first 5 minutes. So I wonder if they're going to leave AD by himself, try to stop others, and go from there. I don't know. I'd probably agree with you on the under, but you never know with AD. That's why it's kind of difficult to actually back or fade him. I backed him on points last game. That worked out. So once again, I think my favorite Grizzly, though, is going to be Aldama or Pippen Jr. But I'll go Aldama because with P.J. Washington playing in minutes for that Dallas team, they need somebody who can match up size-wise with him. And I think that sets up well for Aldama. So that's kind of my thoughts on that one. Anything else you want? It seems like we agree on the Mavericks plus the points. We agree on the over, and we like some of the same props. Anything else you want to add for this game?
No, I'll talk about it in the dog section. Another guy that I like that I think should have a decent game.
I appreciate the cliffhanger. Before we get into the actual picks for the lock and dog and the underdog lineup, reminder once again that we are brought to you by our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy, because you play the underdog pick 'em for a chance to 100 times your money. You can also use different sports, NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs. They have baseball as well. If you want to go for MMA, they have that too. Tennis as well. When you sign up though for your new account, use the promo code NBSGPN. You can especially get the first time by offer up to $1,000 bonus cash. Underdog Fantasy promo code NBA SGPN. SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm because they're the home of ad bet picks and props. They're also live Major League Baseball. They have models on golf and NBA as well. You can also build your own model, which is very easy and simple to do. And a reminder, they also have 2 promo codes right now, one for a monthly deal for subscription and one for an annual subscription. 25% off the monthly deal with the promo code SGPN25 and 50% off annual subscription with the promo code SGPN50. Once again, it's Rhythm, RITHMM, promo code SGPN25 or SGPN50. Welcome back, everyone, to the NBA Gambling Podcast. Finished going through both play-in games for Friday. Now it's time for the lock and dog picks for the show. Lonte, I'll let you go first. What is your lock and dog for the games tonight?
Yeah, let's go with just simple. I'll just take Miami on the money line, or -1, whatever is the cheapest that you can find. I mean, it's
I see money line at like -110, so that's fine.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, so I'll just take that. I mean, I think Miami is the better team. I think they have more avenues to victory here. Better head coach, but although I respect Quinn Snyder a ton, I think he's underrated. I mean, he just doesn't have the horses in the spot. So yeah, I like Miami to get it done.
Well, you say horses, they have a flawed horse at 1. That's kind of all they got.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think I trust them in this spot to get it done. They, like I said, the familiarity's there. It's not going to be anything schematically done different on either side. So I think Miami will just outlast them. Although I think both of these games will be pretty good throughout the game. So I think we're in for a decent night of NBA. But I do like Miami to win that game. Dog wise, another guy we didn't talk about. I'm gonna ladder Luke Kennard's threes simply because of exactly what we were talking about with the Dallas length and size.
They need some form of shooting.
They got to have somebody to shoot the ball. So I'm assuming they would go small and put him in. He's been playing decent. I think he played 17 minutes last game, but he's been playing 20-plus minutes consistently over the last month. He just hasn't been shooting the ball. But I think in this specific spot, he'll be able to get some open looks, off penetration from Pippen and Ja if he can get downhill. Dallas, their corner 3 defense is not as good. So I think that they'll be able to find Luke Kennard in the corner, find him at the top of the key, and he actually can initiate offense. So I would look for him to run some pick and rolls as well. So I'm going to ladder him up. If you go 3+, you can. I'm him up to 5. If you go to, let me get the numbers. For him to make 2+ is +150. So let's go with that one, +150, and he can get +340 or +450. I'm sorry, to make 3. And to make 4, you can get he's not even listed to make 4. Oh yeah, he is 10-1. So I think that is extremely good value for a guy who I think will be seeing extended minutes. He'll get a lot more shots on this specific style of defense. I think it's just a matchup thing that's going to play well for him. So give me Luke Kennard 3's ladder.
Yeah, so Kennard, by the way, his points are at 4.5 if you want to go for the default line there, which I don't mind too.
Yep.
So for my lock, unfortunately, it's pretty boring. We got the same thing. Give me Miami money line in this game. I have to. I think Miami's a better team. I think Atlanta, at the end of the day, as you said before, they don't really have any horses, and you're looking at the injury report, you're looking at their depth. Miami's a really bad matchup because they can throw so many bodies at Trey, and I don't trust anybody else in Atlanta to step up. Yes, on occasion, Daniels can have a solid 15-point game. I mentioned some of the guys before, but I feel like this team offensively just does not have enough scoring depth to match up with Miami. And it's why Miami beat them the last couple of meetings in the regular season. They scored 122+ in each of the last 2 games. But Miami, defensively, we know they're going to throw a bunch of different looks in there. They'll throw zone in for a couple minutes to change the overall flow of the game. Miami can shoot from the outside. Atlanta really does not have many options that scare me on this team. And I think that Spoelstra, of course, is the better coach in this game. No offense to Quinn Snyder. So give me the Heat as well on the money line at -110 as my lock. For my dog, I wanted something with Aldama, but I was wondering what to take because it's at 9.5, and I think it's a pretty good matchup for him. I wonder how many minutes, though, he's going to actually play in this game. Played 26 against Golden State.
Yeah, I think he'll see that. Maybe 30.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, especially if Ja's out, they need somebody who can actually do something for this team. So I'm going to go with an alt points line. Give me Aldama over 11.5 points at +152. I think it's a good price. He had 14 against Golden State. He can shoot from the outside. He averaged 10.5 in the regular season against Dallas, so why not? But you're looking at him shooting 50% from 3 in that game against Golden State. He was pretty effective, and I think that he's in a pretty good matchup. So I am going to go with Aldama once again as my dog here over 12.5 points, over 11.5 points, at +152. Anyway, for the underdog entry for the card. I know we already mentioned a couple of players that we like, but I'll ask you, Lonte, do you want to just bring back Kennard stuff? What do you want to do?
No, we can stay away from the Kennard stuff because I think we like that a decent amount. If you want to go under, if you want to go lower, those Trey assists, is it 11.5? I like that lower.
Yes, I believe that is available on Underdog. Also at 11.5. Let me check. I thought about taking an alt Trey under assist line at 10.5. By the way, at like plus 118, but it wasn't high enough. I was hoping it'd be a better price.
Yeah.
For the lower though, on his assists, Underdog does have it. It's a bit juiced, but it's fine. So we can take that as our first option.
Yeah,
so
like
Trey lower on his assists. Do you want to take Aldama at 9.5?
Love Aldama. Love him.
Okay, so Aldama's also at 9.5 on Underdogs. That's 2. And then what else would you want to consider taking?
Let's go.
We can do where rebounds.
Yeah, that's exactly. We could do PR if you want.
Okay, so let me just check what's available on Underdog for where, because I do think that is a pretty good matchup for him, at least based on minutes that he should end up playing, assuming he's not in foul trouble. For the rebounds on where, it might be at 8.5 on Underdog, which is kind of annoying. Yeah, it's at 8.5 on Underdog. So if you want to go for PR, actually, you know what? I think I'd rather pivot to somebody else, to be honest. Anybody else you want to back or potentially fade?
Pippen? What is Pippen PA?
Okay, that we can do. I can get behind that. So Pippen for his PA. Sorry, just waiting for this to load. Pippen PA is available on Underdog at, it's at 18. It's at a 16.5.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
So our 3-pick entry for Underdog here, we're going to go with Scottie Pippen Jr. higher, 16.5 points and assists. We'll go with Trae Young lower, 11.5 assists, and we're going to go with the Aldama higher on his points at 9.5. That's going to wrap it up, though, for the Underdog entry. It's going to wrap it up for this episode. It's actually the first of 2 episodes today. Because we have a lot of playoff games that are day games over the weekend, we will be doing a night episode for the games on, or an afternoon episode, however you want to call it, evening for the Saturday games. We'll do another one for the Sunday games. Lonte, anything else you want to add because the playoffs are officially about to start?
Man, I'm glad. It's a perfect time of the year for us, man. Well, I know you got a lot of other stuff going on as well as far as tennis and stuff, but man, playoff basketball, I'm hoping we get a really good playoff because last year was kind of so-so. And it's been
the Eastern Conference is a lost cause, and Boston basically won every series in 4 or 5.
Man, but I know the Eastern Conference is down, but I think some of those series are really intriguing and could go at least 6 games. A lot of them. I mean, Detroit, New York, I think will be intriguing. I think Indiana and Milwaukee will be very, very intriguing, especially with how well that Milwaukee's been playing with Giannis at that point forward.
They might come back.
Yeah, exactly, and I thought that as well. So I think those are 2 really good series. The Boston series, not so much, but I do think. I mean, listen, I'm not going to – I think
Miami could win 2 games. Maybe.
I think they can, yeah. That's exactly what I was going to say. I think they can win a game or 2 against Cleveland. But man, I'm excited for the playoffs. We got like a quadruple hitter on Saturday, so my girlfriend's probably not happy about it. But
yeah, for the record, I do think that the Grizzlies or the Mavericks get blasted by the Thunder in the first round, for the record. So
absolutely.
We'll see what happens, but either way, point is, I saw somebody asking what time the NBA episode should be. We are going to be doing a back-to-back. We're doing the baseball show as well later. So baseball's at 5. We're going to try to go baseball into NBA. So assuming about an hour, probably less, so maybe 5:45, give or take, but something like that later on today for the games on Saturday. Anyway, till next time, good luck to all of you and all of your bets. Bye, everyone.